Their bomber idea could be part of a media game of sorts, one that certain political constituencies are playing in order to broadly influence a policy, rather than comprise policy. But just for fun, let's consider B-52s for Israel as a sober proposal. MOP is a precision-guided gravity bomb. So a B-52 cannot deploy it from standoff range. The bomber has to get close to the target. The B-52 is slow. This is why you don't normally fly the giant warplane through contested airspace. In 1972, the North Vietnamese shot down a staggering 16 B-52s in 11 days during Operation Linebacker 2. The Iranian Air Force flies hundreds of MiG-29s, F-7s, F-4s and F-5s and a couple squadrons of US-made F-14s, pictured, that might still wield a version of the long-range Phoenix missile. Any of these jets could intercept Israeli B-52s. Iran also has a relatively sophisticated integrated air defense system with large numbers of surface-to-air missiles. They, too, could prove devastating to attacking bombers. If you're the sort of country that can carry out a massive defense suppression campaign in advance to destroy air bases and surface-to-air missiles along the bomber's route, then you can manage this problem. Or you can just send a radar-evading B-2. But that's America we're referring to. Israel is no slouch when it comes to executing complex air raids against heavily armed foes. But the Jewish state lacks the capacity for an expansive defense suppression campaign, the likes of which might ensure the B-52's survival as they lumbered in to drop their MOPs. In the recent past, Israel has sent speedy F-15s and F-16s on small, lightning-quick raids through largely intact air defenses in order to destroy Iraqi and Syrian nuclear facilities. The strategic wisdom of such raids is debatable, their military effectiveness is not. Far from improving Tel Aviv's ability to hold at risk Tehran's nuclear program, B-52s for Israel actually makes a successful pinpoint raid more difficult and expensive by requiring the Israeli Air Force to destroy essentially all of Iran's defenses before the bombers can deliver their decisive ordnance. This is to say nothing, of course, of the problems the Israelis would face in developing sufficient expertise to fix and fly the 1960s vintage B-52s. The bombers cost a lot to maintain compared to F-15s and F-16s. The Israelis retired their last large, multi-engine bombers, B-17s, in 1958. Since then, Tel Aviv has built its air power around small fighter bombers. Essentially, Deptula and Makovsky are asking the Israelis to use B-52s in circumstances more dangerous than the U.S. Air Force itself has been willing to use them since at least 1991, and probably since 1972. It would be dumb for Washington to offer B-52s. But it's unlikely the Israelis would be dumb enough to actually accept them. What about the politics? Giving bombers to Israel would save the U.S. the time and trouble of destroying the Iranian nuke program itself, presumably leading to more credible deterrence, right? In fact, it's doubtful exporting the B-52 would actually save the United States any trouble. It's tough to imagine any aircraft more symbolic of American empire than the B-52. The huge warplanes have flown for the U.S. Air Force since 1952, and never for any other country. The B-52 is more quintessentially American than the F-15, also flown by Saudi Arabia, and the F-16, which Egypt, Jordan and soon Iraq also operate. If B-52s struck Iran, who could pretend that Israel alone was responsible? Transferring the B-52s wouldn't actually insulate the United States from any political or military blowback. B-52s for Israel might even put U.S. security at risk. Working through the logic, or lack thereof, behind the proposal, it's easier to grant that Deptula and Makovsky are making a political rather than a tactical point. However, one of the reasons for creating an independent Air Force is to develop a cadre of experienced, professional air power experts. These experts are supposed to do two things. First, they manage military air power in the most efficient and